Welcome back to our channel, where we provide updates and undisclosed narratives on Catherine, Princess of Wales, and her royal family. We provide you with the exciting news: Buckingham in Trembles over. Prince Edward's shocking revelation left Charles in tears. Buckingham Palace is allegedly in turmoil after Prince Edward's startling disclosures about Diana, which destabilize the monarchy and leave King Charles visibly shaken, according to a source with close familiarity. Prince Edward, Duke of Edinburgh, has seemingly broken an almost 30-year silence over the tumultuous life and tragic death of his former sister-in-law, Diana, Princess of Wales. This unprecedented moment of frankness has reverberated through the core of the British monarchy. Prince Edward's speech has reverberated through the core of the British monarchy. His elder brother, King Charles III, was reportedly left visibly shaken and profoundly distressed by the words which insiders described as personally personal and sharply critical of the royal family structure. At 75 years old, the king, already grappling with the immense pressures of his reign while undergoing cancer treatment, suddenly confronts a distressing resurgence of prior issues from an unexpected source his younger brother recognized for his reticence and loyalty. Prince Edward's abrupt decision to address the most contentious and polarizing episode in contemporary royal history has ignited a maelstrom of speculation, placing the palace in a precarious situation and jeopardizing the meticulously crafted narrative that the monarchy has developed over decades. For years, Prince Edward has served as the discreet cornerstone of the Windsor family. He has remained a reliable, unblemished individual who has faithfully adhered to the traditional royal principle of never complain, never explain. The confessions allegedly made during a private conversation with a close associate and subsequently leaked lacked the expected warm and diplomatic expressions. Instead, they depicted a dismal portrayal of Princess Diana's isolation and suffering inside the royal family. The information from the source suggests that Edward's remarks were not only a defense of Diana, but also a nuanced critique of the system that had let her down. The prince reportedly said, "She did not deserve any of that," his voice purportedly trembling with passion. "It is neither the sense of isolation nor the act of betrayal. She had a more majestic demeanor than any of us." This startling declaration from someone who has dedicated his whole life to safeguarding the palace's secrets has prompted royal observers and the general public to raise many critical concerns. What is the rationale for this timing? What has compelled the most reticent of princes to finally declare a fact that others have only whispered for an extended period? As the repercussions of his remarks reverberate from Buckingham Palace to the global arena, the issue emerges about the monarchy's readiness to confront the whole tale. The unforeseen confessor. A life lived in the royal family's shadows. A basic knowledge of Prince Edward is essential to fully grasp the profound importance of the disclosed comments. Prince Edward, the youngest and fourth child of Queen Elizabeth II, and Prince Philip, has historically had a unique and perhaps overlooked role within the royal family. He is the youngest of 4 children. In contrast to Charles, he was never meant to ascend to the throne and did not seek public attention with the same intensity as his brothers. Amidst Charles's public tumult, Princess Anne developed a reputation for her pragmatic work ethic, and Prince Andrew became mired in scandal, whereas Edward epitomized unwavering stability throughout these occurrences. He was largely regarded as the dependable and uncontentious Windsor for many years. Before fully committing to royal duties, he engaged with his enterprise Ardent Productions to further a career in television and stage production. His marriage to Sophie Rhys-Jones in 1999 has exemplified steadiness. As the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, a title William inherited from his father, they have emerged as essential working royals recognized for their commitment and understated attitude. His alleged participation is remarkable because of his established reputation as a steadfast supporter of the crown and its secrets. Throughout the tumultuous period marked by Charles and Diana's divorce, the aftermath of Diana's death, and the current discord between Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, Edward maintained a position as a passive spectator. He acted as the custodian of the institution's legacy, symbolizing unwavering devotion and steadfast commitment. His silence was seen not as indifference, but as the utmost expression of accountability. Many individuals presumed that he would take the secrets he had seen to his grave. The burden of those secrets has grown too heavy for me to bear at this stage of my life, which is 61 years old. The prince, hitherto residing in obscurity, has finally stepped into the spotlight, addressing the matter that casts the most prolonged and profound shadow over the House of Windsor. The previously undisclosed narrative of Edward and Diana is unveiled in the novel A Silent Alliance. While the world was engrossed in the great and tragic romance of the Prince and Princess of Wales, an inconspicuous relationship was unfolding simultaneously. This relationship was between Princess Diana and Prince Edward, her youngest brother-in-law. An unusual and subtle rapport existed between two individuals who in different manners saw themselves as outsiders inside the stringent confines of the monarchy. It was neither a romance nor a blatant alliance. Instead, it was an enigmatic and tacit agreement between them. Edward silently saw Diana's evolution from a timid youth thrust into global prominence to the current day. He was able to scrutinize the complexities of her new existence, the burdens that were overwhelming her, and the emotional solitude that she was enduring. Edward was seen as more approachable and relatable than the heir to the throne, who was encumbered by obligations and a sense of royal propriety. A narrative recounted by a former member of the royal service extensively discussed the unspoken connection that existed between them. Edward often deviated from protocol for Diana, even in the austere and ceremonial context of royal functions, where tradition governed every expected action. A staff worker said that Edward often was the first to stand and approach Diana whenever she entered a room, particularly if she seemed to be overwhelmed. It was more than just a question of etiquette. A simple act of solidarity, it conveyed that she was not alone in her experience. Numerous stories indicate that he was the only individual to pose the direct and fundamental question, "Diana, are you okay?" That unassuming inquiry unlocked the previously silent channel of communication between them. Although they did not spend much time together, it was felt that their exchanged glances spoke more than words could possibly explain. Diana reportedly felt that her husband seldom afforded her the courtesy of attentive listening, but Edward did just that. Diana reportedly said in private correspondence to a friend, "Edward comprehends me in a manner that Charles has never attempted." These letters have remained undisclosed to the public. Upon seeing the guy, he does not only acknowledge the title. Prince Charles recognized this little connection between the two individuals. Reports indicate that it engendered feelings of anger and mistrust in him, respectively. Charles confronted his younger brother directly at a tumultuous private encounter held at Balmoral Castle. "Why do you exhibit such sympathy towards her?" the future king expressed his inquiry. "Do you fail to see that she is precipitating the disintegration of this family?" Edward's reply was, as is his wont, understated but quite powerful. He abstained from engaging in an argument or disagreement. Merely looking away and exiting the room was not a failure, but an expression of subtle defiance on his behalf. His acts not only spoke more than any argument, but also solidified his steadfast and quiet support for a woman who was increasingly succumbing to the immense weight of her royal responsibilities. An unseen grief, the private sorrow of the prince. The most somber occasion happened on August 31st, 1997. The announcement of Princess Diana's tragic death in a catastrophic vehicle accident in Paris elicited widespread sorrow globally. In the following days, the royal family's reaction or absence thereof evolved into a crisis in its own right. In spite of the public's fervent quest for a sign of collective sorrow, they encountered what seemed to be a frigid silence from the institution. Conversely, the public could not see the intricacies of the emotions occurring behind the closed doors of Balmoral. Witnesses from that era said that the only senior royal to weep hysterically in public upon receiving the news was Edward, not Charles. The depth of a link hitherto hidden from public view was revealed by his profound and visceral grief for the departed. Although not officially confirmed by the palace, several persons associated with the family have corroborated that Edward's distress compelled him to undertake drastic measures. This event has not been formally validated by the palace. Reports indicate that he discreetly flew to Paris shortly after the incident. To bid a private farewell to his sister-in-law, whom he had quietly supported, Charles insisted on seeing Diana's body at the Pitié-Salpêtrière hospital prior to her repatriation to the United Kingdom. This was a very intimate journey, conducted away from public scrutiny. The act of private mourning sharply contrasted with the family's apparent stoicism. Subsequent to Diana's demise, Prince Edward became more taciturn on the subject. His hesitation to engage in any interviews with her was a clear indicator of his avoidance of circumstances that prominently highlighted her recollections. Observers of the royal family recognized that this was not a lapse in memory, but a manifestation of grief. This was a personal sorrow that was never meant for public disclosure, and should not have been included in the official royal narrative. His enduring antipathy to Camilla Parker Bowles may be attributed to his deep loyalty to Diana's memory. He silently attributed a considerable share of Diana's anguish to her. This mindset was explicitly articulated in a gesture that was both nuanced and heartbreaking during the 2005 wedding of Charles and Camilla. According to the narrative, Edward was the last member of the family to inscribe the guest book before its closure. The letter's contents were concise, direct, and laden with meaning. May your happiness not be achieved at the expense of others. The comment, albeit spoken in private, sent a message that was both clear and significant throughout the royal corridors. It was an expression of his discontent and steadfast dedication to the memory of the woman he considered a victim of injustice. As the silence was broken, it was said that she was more royal than any of us. This devotion was kept a secret for 27 years, during which time it was kept quiet. However, now that his confession has been revealed, the prince, who maintained a low profile, has finally given it a voice. His assertion that Diana was more royal than any of us is a deep and multi-layered criticism of the situation. The statement implies that Diana, with her intrinsic capacity to connect with people, her compassion and her emotional honesty, reflected the spirit of contemporary monarchy to a far greater extent than the conventional gatekeepers of the institution. The timeliness of this new information is quite important. The monarchy is now navigating one of the most precarious eras in its history compared to other times in previous times. Due to the fact that both King Charles and the Princess of Wales are battling major health issues, the institution seems to be in a precarious position. At the same time, the issues that Diana first posed about the monarchy's relevance, its rigidity, and its ability for empathy are being repeated by a new generation. These doubts have been magnified by the departure of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. As a result, the words said by Edward do not exist in a void space. At the same time, they give the impression of being more of a direct reaction to the present than a straightforward reflection on the past. It is not simply Diana that he is talking about. Rather, he is speaking to the very core of the continuous identity problem that the monarchy is experiencing. His admission that the system was never built to accept someone like her is an acceptance of the institutional shortcomings that supporters of Diana and subsequently supporters of Prince Harry have pointed out for a long time. It demonstrates that her feelings of isolation were not the result of a personal battle per se, but rather the result of a cold and unforgiving system that places a higher value on compliance than authenticity. In contrast to previous royal observations on Diana, the remark that Edward is said to have made holds a special significance. When Charles talks about her, his words are often professional and calculated, and they are tinged with the discomfort that is unavoidable due to the fact that they have a history together. Whenever Prince William pays tribute to his mother, he does it not just with affection and respect, but also with the deliberation and diplomacy of a future monarch. He does this to make certain that her legacy does not undermine the institution that he is destined to govern. And when Prince Harry does speak, he does it from the raw, emotional viewpoint of a son who has been hurt and is waging a struggle against the system that he believes failed his mother. However, Edward is speaking from a completely different place than everyone else. The throne does not have a successor in him. There is no intention on his part to settle a personal score or to garner the attention of the publicity media. His statements, which he gave in a low voice and without any obvious intent, resound with the unadulterated ring of truth. They are the straightforward, unadorned observations of a guy who saw everything from the inside. Through a few brief comments, he has verified the long-held popular impression that Diana's tragedy was not merely a narrative of a broken marriage, but rather of an institution's failure to accept the same humanity that made her so adored. This perception has been held by the public for a long time. Tremors in the Palace. How the words of an individual prince reshaped the story of the royal family. The aftershocks of Prince Edward's words are already producing huge tremors inside the royal family. These aftershocks are resurrecting wounds that have never completely healed and disrupting a family dynamic that was always sensitive. The timing could hardly have been more unfortunate for King Charles. His brother's remarks have brought him back to the most traumatic and terrible chapter of his life, because he is attempting to define his reign and ensure that his legacy will be remembered for generations to come. The War of the Waleses was a personal and public relations disaster for him, and his image has never fully recovered from the damage it caused. Over the course of many decades, he and the palace have exerted a great deal of effort in order to restore his reputation and to establish Queen Camilla as a distinguished and indispensable part of the royal family. A significant portion of that effort is in danger of being undone as a result of Edward's words, notably the criticism that was latent in his wedding message and his subsequent admiration of Diana. They serve as a jarring reminder of something that happened in the past and rekindle popular sympathy for Diana, which will eventually come at the price of Charles. The king is said to be blindsided and deeply hurt by his brother's alleged indiscretion, which he views as a violation of the unwritten family code of loyalty, according to sources close to the king. In a situation that is just as perilous, Prince William, who is also known as the Prince of Wales, finds himself. By deftly walking the balance between honoring his mother's heritage and fulfilling his obligation to the crown, he has shown his mastery of the situation. He talks about her with warmth and care, and he has been a champion for issues that are near and dear to her heart, such as efforts to end homelessness and improve mental health. Nevertheless, he has also been a stalwart supporter of the monarchy throughout his life. Because of Edward's statements, he is compelled to tackle the fundamental contradiction that exists inside his perspective. By doing so, they not only confirm the pain of his mother, but they also tacitly attack the institution as well as the family that he has taken an oath to preserve. This puts William in the uncomfortable position of having to choose between protecting his father and the monarchy or accepting the awful reality of his mother's experience, which is a fact that his own uncle has now pushed to the forefront of the conversation. Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex, is another notable figure. The words of Edward are likely to be seen by him as a significant endorsement, even if they come a little bit late. Since Harry has stepped down from his royal responsibilities, one of the primary topics that he has discussed in public speeches is the maltreatment of his mother, as well as the similarities that he sees in the way that his wife Meghan has been treated. The argument that Diana was harassed and misunderstood by an insensitive institution and a predatory press has been a part of his argument for a long time. It would be a moment of great significance to hear a senior member of the established royal family like Edward voice this opinion. This may be seen as evidence that his viewpoint is not entirely unique, but rather that it is shared at least in part by people who are still members of the royal institution. On the other hand, it can bring about a further divide. There is a possibility that Harry's view that the institution is beyond repair will be strengthened if even Edward, who is known for his quiet and devoted nature, admits that the system has faults. Not only are Edward's discoveries affecting his personal family, but they are also causing waves to spread across the whole royal machinery. Therefore, the capacity of the monarchy to present an image of unity, stability, and relevance is essential to the monarchy's continued existence in the 21st century. Edward has pierced that picture by disclosing the unresolved tensions that are still simmering just below the surface. He has done this by uttering a challenge that is tough to accept. The legacy that refuses to go away is known as the Diana effect. The changes that Princess Diana brought about in the royal family were nothing short of revolutionary. The royal family had been operating under the rigid centuries-old rule of emotional separation before her, but she changed that. They were not persons, but symbols. The power that they had came from their aura of mystery and their separation from the general populace. Diana has completely broken that mold. The crown was humanized in a manner that had never been done before by her open-hearted kindness, her forthright disclosures of her battles with bulimia and depression, and her tactile approach to public engagements, which included memorably shaking hands with an AIDS sufferer sans gloves. People were left with the impression that the monarchy had the potential to be a force for true compassion. A side of royalty that was approachable and motivating was shown via her work with those who had been injured by landmines, her support of people who were homeless, and her dedication to her children. Within the palace, her sincerity was often seen as a potentially hazardous liability, despite the fact that the populace embraced her for it. She was seen as unstable due to her emotional honesty, and her enormous popularity was seen as a danger to the existing order, despite the fact that she was very popular. The first clumsy reaction of the royal family to her passing was a pivotal moment that marked a vital turning point. Because of the overwhelming outpouring of public sorrow and the tangible outrage at the palace's silence, the Queen was compelled to break with precedent and address the country in a live broadcast. This was done in order to show her respect for the people. The lesson was taught in the most severe manner possible. The monarchy could no longer afford to be seen as being unfeeling and out of touch with the American people. This was a direct result of the Diana effect, which led to the family making a concerted effort to become more open and emotionally available in the years that followed. A reassessment of that progression is now required as a result of the statements of Prince Edward. What was the nature of the alteration, and was it only a tactical modification made for the sake of survival? By admitting that the system was intrinsically unfriendly to someone like Diana, he is implying that the fundamental problems may not have been remedied, but rather that they were only covered up. There has been a rapid and forceful response from the public to the purported statements that he made. A number of hashtags, including Dr. Prince Edward and Diana the True Royal, have been very popular on social media. The younger generation, many of whom were not even present during Diana's lifetime, is drawing obvious comparisons between her experiences and the complaints that Meghan Markle subsequently made. This is a point of contention for the younger age. They see a trend in which the institution not only fails to protect and support women who marry into it, but also fails to protect and support women who oppose the norms of the institution. There are a lot of people who find Edward's honesty to be a breath of fresh air, a sign that the monarchy may now be ready to address its history. He is praised for his bravery in speaking up about a fact that has been repressed for an excessive amount of time. According to other individuals, on the other hand, it is a potentially hazardous violation of procedure that poses a risk of destabilizing an institution that is already vulnerable at a period of considerable uncertainty. It is their contention that such topics pertaining to the family should be kept private and that his statements merely serve to resurrect past hurt emotions. Regardless of the point of view, there is one thing that cannot be refuted. Prince Edward has rekindled a debate that the monarchy had believed had been resolved for a reasonable amount of time. He has brought to the attention of the public the fact that Diana's legacy is not only a historical footnote, but rather a live, breathing force that continues to dictate the course of events for the House of Windsor. As a result of the silent prince's decision to express his thoughts, it is possible that he has accidentally become the most radical royal of them all. This has forced a long overdue reckoning that has the potential to reimagine the future of the crown. It is not the issue of whether or not the monarchy will react at this point. Rather, the question is how it can possibly exist without doing so. Thank you for watching the video. Please let us know your thoughts and goodbye for now.